Hello and welcome to happilyeducated.com. Today I'd just like to share a few thoughts about the 10,000 hour rule. So when my students are feeling frustrated with their progress, I frequently tell them about the 10,000 hour rule. This rule is based on the research of Anders Ericsson and was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. And basically what this rule tells us is simply that it takes a whole lot of time and effort to master a skill, which no big surprise there. So Ericsson found that it takes an average of 10,000 hours of dedicated practice to become an expert classical musician. Now, Gladwell oversimplified this idea somewhat by implying that 10,000 hours is the magic number for high achievement in any field. This is totally misleading. Depending on the complexity of the skill and the competitiveness of the field, it may take more or less hours to become a true expert. Also, it's not clear what the role of natural ability or lack thereof, how that influences the pace at which a person can achieve greatness. But regardless, it's very clear that if you want to become good at something, you're going to have to spend a whole lot of time and effort doing it. Now, no matter how you do the math, getting to 10,000 hours is going to take you years. Even if you were to practice for 12 hours a day, which is basically impossible, no matter what the activity is, it would still take you over 2 years. If you were to practice for a more realistic 90 minutes a day, it's going to take you 20 years of practice before you hit that 10,000 hour mark. So furthermore, it has to be quality practice. You can't just go through the motions and expect yourself to become great. Your practice has to be deliberate and focused on improvement, which as a teacher of young musicians, I can definitely say that not all practicing fits this description. So excluding the very basic skills that everyone has mastered, like walking or brushing my teeth, probably the only skill that I've really gotten to that point where I can call myself an expert is playing the cello. Now, certainly there are many cellists out there who are way better than I am, but I've reached a pretty respectable level of performance thanks at least in part to having spent over 10,000 hours in a practice room. However, I would like to, branch out and master some other skills. I would imagine that I'm getting close to the point of having accumulated about 10,000 hours of teaching experience, and I've certainly done a lot of writing over the past several years. So possibly, achieving mastery in those areas is possible for me, and I certainly hope to get there. But you can't be an expert at everything. Sometimes 10,000 hours is so far off that mastery just seems absolutely unachievable. In this case, I find it helpful to remind myself about the 10,000 hour rule so that I can remain calm and patient with myself when I just totally suck at something. So for example, I've been trying to learn how to meditate, and so far I'm mostly failing. The little voice in my head just refuses to shut up. And when this is getting me down, it helps to remember that I can't expect myself to be a good meditator yet because I simply haven't put in enough hours of practice. The 10,000 hour rule also helps remind me that, that thing about my practice has to be deliberate and focused on improvement. So if I'm just sitting there on a pillow with my eyes closed while daydreaming, that really doesn't count as quality practice. Furthermore, the 10,000 hour rule reminds me that sometimes it's best to have somebody else do something rather than trying to do it myself. This is an idea I really struggle with because I would like to think that I am capable of doing anything and everything, but in reality, there just aren't enough hours in the day for me to learn all the skills that I would need. And this do-it-yourself home renovation project that we are in the midst of has really proven this point to me. I cannot teach my students, write my dissertation, and learn how to fix a house while remaining sane all at the same time. It's just not feasible. If I had no other obligations in life, well, yeah, it would be great to dedicate myself to becoming a competent handywoman, but there simply isn't time. So, sometimes it's best to just ask or pay for someone to help you, is what I'm discovering. So unless you have a whole lot of time on your hands, it's probably also wise to be cautious about committing yourself to learning new skills, especially if you want to do them well. If you don't mind doing them badly, then, go for it. That said, I was thinking about how the goal of this blog is to share knowledge, and I was thinking how it would be a terrible shame to limit it to my knowledge because there's simply an awful lot that I don't know. So, I wanted to invite you, dear viewer, to consider contributing a guest post. You could talk about just about any subject that interests you, but hopefully while also addressing how your knowledge has helped you lead a better or more satisfying life. And this post, ideally, you would present it in video and text format. And of course, I reserve the right to reject any posts that do not conform to the mission or standards of this blog. But I hope you will give that some thought. I'd really like to hear what you have to say. And if you are interested, please contact me at either happilyeducated@gmail.com or just leave a comment on the blog and I will get back to you. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have some very happy learning.